Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight B.M. Boldt is back. We're doing another episode in our Frank Zappa series. Tonight we're looking at Lather from 1978. Well, that's kind of questionable. And Orchestral Favorites from 1979. Let's do it.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
All right, everybody. We are live, and we are talking Frank Zappa. Look at B.M. Boldt already making a comment. Here we go. We are going. Hey, I don't know what episode we're in. Byron, how many episodes have we done?
Episode 364.
100%. Well, tonight we are talking about two records. We're talking about Lather, which was that didn't come out while Frank was alive, even though it did come out as a test pressing back in 77. And what is the deal with that Lather? Go ahead. Because a lot of this stuff has come out over the years, because when he was in the battle with Warner Brothers, then he kind of took this record apart and distributed it in individual, different records. So, and Orchestral Favorites is one of those records. But I put 1978 on the graphics just because, what was it? 90?
Why not?
Why not? Well, that's originally when it was conceived.
The timelines are all jacked up on these anyway.
You know, as we go through this whole catalog, you know what's I find funny, though? And I'm not talking bad about Frank at all. But, when we originally started this series, I'm only really a fan of that whole Mothers of Invention era. And then, of course, I'm branching out. But if you look at all these records that we're looking at, they're all cobbled together. And I'm not saying anything bad about that, but it's not like the Mothers of Invention stuff where everything was a solid, cohesive record thought out. Like Hot Rats, same kind of thing. But you get to all this stuff in the 70s. And it's just like cobbled together from all these different tracks that are sitting around. Now, I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just saying it's just like something that I've noticed. So we're looking at Lather. I mean, it's all over the place, really. Byron, do you see what I'm saying?
Lather is all over the place because it was recorded all over the place. And it was really, 4 different albums.
But what I'm trying to say is a lot of the Mothers of Invention stuff was all conceived as a work together, and it all flows together and it makes sense. We're only in it for the money. It's not like those tracks were all over the place. Now, Uncle Meat, you start getting to that stage where things are pulled from different things. I could have that totally wrong, but I'm just a monkey, ladies and gentlemen. But at least on all this stuff, it just seems very loosey. It just seems very loosey-goosey. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Orchestral Favorites was all recorded in 3 days, so that one is an exception.
Okay. Yeah, but wasn't it part of Lather, though?
Well, yeah. I mean, but we wouldn't get into all that.
All right, let's get started. Where do you want to start?
I wanted to start with Orchestral Favorites since.
All right, so I know I'm already on a tangent, so calm down, Byron. Calm down. Am I going to have to bring Stephanie in to calm you down?
No, I'm fine.
All right, so what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to switch it up a little bit on this episode because we are going to play a couple of tracks from these records. Instead of just us gabbing, we're going to play some tracks. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. B.M. Boldt and have him get us started, so go ahead.
Okay, well, let's start with Orchestral Favorites because then we will have covered all the albums that made up Lather, and then we can talk Lather and kind of tie all the loose ends together.
All right, fine. Go
ahead. And so this came out May 4th of 79 on Discreet. It was originally going to be called 6 Things I Read, and recorded September 7th through the 19th, 1975 at Royce Hall on the UCLA campus. 2 nights they did live shows, and I think the 3rd day was rehearsals. It was recorded with the 37-piece Abney Seals the Mucca Symphony Orchestra. He also used that same name for the orchestra on Lumpy Gravy. Probably none of the same musicians, but that's what he called it.
No, I doubt it. Yeah.
But it's got a bunch of orchestral musicians on it, but it also has Frank, Ian Underwood, Terry Bozzio, Bruce Fowler, and like I said, the orchestra.
Byron, hold on, Byron. It's your boy.
Yeah, I saw him already once.
Oh, I didn't see him already. Thanks, Pumping Vinyl, for showing up. I appreciate the support.
So anyway, it got up to Billboard 168. And let's see. Here's the artwork. You've shown that.
Yeah, I did. Already did that already.
These all had the same artwork by the same artist. Different artwork, but by the same artist that Frank didn't sign off on. But all the CDs are the same. They sound like the vinyl, except apparently the CDs, the channels were reversed.
But that I can deal with.
Yeah, you can deal with that. There's also a 40th anniversary 3 CD set from the rehearsals and the shows, stuff that didn't make it on here. I don't know if I've ever checked that out yet. Maybe if we ever do posthumous releases, we'll get into all that. But there's like 5 tracks on here.
Yeah, it's not like a very extensive.
No, I believe 3 of these are on Lather, but 2 of them are not.
All right, real quick, Byron. I don't want to interrupt, but I can't help myself because I'm a CD geek and I'm all into whatever version. Is that the 2012 Zappa? Okay, that's
no. This is the original Barking Pumpkins.
No, but this isn't. This is the 2012.
It says.
This is the 20. Okay, this is the 2012 reissue.
It's my understanding that they should sound the exact same. There was nothing done to the 2012.
100%.
Done to this.
I do want to say this because I've talked about this before, is that I don't know this later catalog, so I'm kind of building my catalog as we go. And this is out of print. I got this, and it's a cutout. There's a cut, like, where you have like a saw go through it. Yeah. This is actually a cutout because I'm assuming this didn't sell. Well, it must not have sold, but I got this. It was sealed, but a cutout. But whatever, I've got it, so I'm good. But just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know how long it's been out of print, but it's obviously out of print.
All right. So it says it's actually album number 27 in the list. So.
Yep.
All right. The first track on here, though, is Strictly Genteel. It's 7 minutes and 4 seconds. That was originally from the 200 Motel soundtrack. It's not on Lather. If you have Lather and you don't have this, you're missing Strictly Genteel. This is probably one of his most straightforward classical compositions that he's written. It's more of a waltz. It's got that same feel to it, but I think it's a really strong track. What do you think of it, Grant?
I think it's top notch. Actually, this whole, you know what? I do want to say this. I really like it because there's a lot of people that this whole thing's all instrumental. And there's a lot of people that find when Zappa's doing his vocals and all that stuff, they find it annoying to some degree. But this really is something you can play and you don't really have, well, I don't want to say that. That sounds negative. You don't really have to pay attention so much to it. I think it's, well, I haven't rated it out of 10, but I rate this pretty high. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the more accessible tracks on here. Pedro's Dowry is the next track, 742. That is on Lather. Okay, but now we're getting into one of Frank's atonal classical pieces where it's kind of hard to hear. It's kind of hard to listen to. You got to develop, it's an acquired taste that you have to get used to. To me, it kind of sounds like it would be a soundtrack for like a Looney Tunes episode. It's got some weird stuff going on in the background. And then the third song is the last track on the first side. It's called Naval Aviation in Art. It's a short 1 minute 20. That's also on Lather. This was composed around the 200 Motels period. Short, strange, no melody, dark and moody. That wraps up side 1. So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, though, if I was going to rate this out of 10, which we're not there yet, but I think that this record, it's kind of refreshing when I listen to it. I would give this, well, I'm not going to rate it yet. I'm going to wait, but I like it. Me personally, I like the whole idea that there's a lot of orchestral focus on it. I think that is top notch.
That's why it's called Orchestral Favorites, I suppose.
Exactly.
It's all recorded at the same time.
It's funny though, Byron, when you look at the data, this really didn't do all that well when it was released. It only got to 168 on the charts.
Correct. I don't know if I said that or not, but it was in my notes.
I'm just saying, the beautiful thing of this record is it does show, how much passion Zappa has for orchestral works. And I think this is good. This is probably, I don't want to say pure Frank, but it's almost, I think it's very pure.
He wanted to be a classical composer,
right, 100%.
but he knew he couldn't make any money. And later he does some stuff that is strictly classical. This has a little bit of rock in it, which we're going to get to in a minute, but it's pretty damn close to straight classical stuff. But
so I want to bring up
rock band to it.
I know you're throwing this up, which is not the Zappa reissue, but the original one, the Barking Pumpkin. Have you heard the 40th anniversary edition? Because a lot of people have given that a high praise in the Zappa community.
I don't think I have. Maybe I did stream it once, but that's on my later retirement list.
I see it, even though you're already retired.
But I got too much stuff to get caught up on right now, so you know how it is. You never get caught up.
Well, I'm going to throw it out there at anybody in the chat. Have you heard the 40th anniversary version of this? I'm just concerned. I just would like to know what everybody's thoughts are. I mean, but the thing is, I'm like, what am I talking? I'm talking to the damn choir. His catalog is so vast that I don't know anybody that's probably heard everything and could, chime in on it. I thought maybe someone here had already heard it. I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's refreshing. I like it.
I had heard everything up until about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just couldn't keep up anymore. There's too many box sets coming out. But anyway, I digress.
Keeper says I've heard the 17th anniversary edition, which is not true. Keeper is spreading rumors. I'll be out. Jenna just got in 13-hour shift at the hospital. Feed her. I'm not sure what the hell's happening with Gary, but you might need to get some help. Gary is family first. He's a good, yes, he is super dad.
All right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so let's go down to side 2 here. And so the side 2 starts out with Duke of Prunes, which we're going to play in a second for you.
Well, Duke of Prunes isn't, well, yes, we could play that.
I thought you said it was first up.
It's not first up, but it can be if you keep yapping a little bit.
Well, it's whatever. Let me talk about it while you figure it out. It's originally from Absolutely Free. This is a different version of it. It's an orchestral version, of course. This may have also been on the Run Home Slow soundtrack that he did in the early 60s. This track is on Lather, so I think that's where Grant's a little confused by. He was thinking we might be playing it during Lather, which we could if we have to, but we were going to maybe sneak it in here.
Well, that's the other thing. This catalog at this point is very confusing because of the whole litigation with Warner Brothers and Zappa taking this work and piecing it out, so to speak. I mean, I have issues with that. But
anyway, this track here feels like a rock track with orchestra added, where the other tracks were orchestral sounding tracks and maybe a little bit of a rock feel to it, but not much at all other than little things here and there. But this one is a pretty much rock track with orchestration. It's got an overdub guitar solo, which is really good. Overall, I think it's It's probably my favorite track on here. So if you can play it, we'll play it. If not, we'll save it.
I'm queuing it up. You know, queuing it up's a lot harder when you can't see it.
Yeah. But like, so when you listen to it, you'll think, yeah, it sounds like a rock band and there's orchestration added, and then you'll hear Frank's going to have a pretty decent solo that was not recorded live. It was later overdubbed.
Well, that doesn't make sense. I'm listening to it and I'm going, well, that doesn't sound like Duke of Prunes. All right, I'm ready. All right, you ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got it queued up. You know, it's hard to do. Let's give it a shot. We'll listen to Duke of Prunes and let us know what you think. Do you like this? Do you not like this? You know how it rolls here in the warehouse. Let's Damn, that is hot. Oh shit, shit's going crazy.
Terry Bozzio on drums on that track.
That is hot shit. What a great version of that song, right?
Yeah, a lot of controlled feedback on that solo too.
Yeah.
He wasn't really, cutting loose, but just kind of setting a tone.
Gary Joey says this song is cool to hear in this live group chat. However, I won't ever look at it up to play again. Well, it probably will never be played again on the Warehaus, but
that's probably the most accessible track on the album, so we went with that.
So Sydney wants to know who are the other musicians. It was Terry Bozzio. Who else?
Yeah, well, Sydney, we already discussed that. Were you late?
Of course he's late.
Yeah, so you had Frank, of course, on the guitar. It says Ian Underwood was probably doing some piano, or he's probably doing some piano. It could have been some woodwinds. Terry on drums. Bruce Fowler. Bruce was he the bassist or was he the trombone player? I can't remember which one.
I don't remember.
Well, and then just a bunch of session orchestral players. So
I love it though. One thing when I'm listening to it on the headphones, it just sounds really, the mastering or the production of it really sounds great.
So let's wrap this album up with the last track on here, Bogus Pomp.
All right, go ahead.
13 and a half minutes. This contains a lot of the stuff from the sealed tuna sandwich section of 200 Motels. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that didn't even make it into the soundtrack of the movie. So this is some of the stuff that made it into the movie and some that wasn't in the movie. This can be atonal at times, like Pedro's Dowry. But at the same time, this is much more accessible than those tracks at times as well. So it's kind of a half accessible, half atonal. So it's not too bad. I like it better than some of the other tracks on here.
So what would you give this out of a 10?
Oh, I'm him-hawing here. I'm going to go 7.5.
Oh, Jesus. I would rate it higher than that, but I'm just a monkey. 7.5. I'd give it an 8.25 probably.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I love the orchestral stuff that Zappa does because that's really where he wanted to really go. Or at least that's what I think. And then when he has an orchestra, or he has all this where he can combine everything, I just think I don't know. I think it's pure magic. Look at the track we just played. That's beautiful. I'm going to throw it out to everybody in the chat. I don't know if you've heard this. Does anybody know this? Okay, Webb does. Webb knows everything. All right, Webb's going to give it a 7.75.
Well,
I can't argue with that, Webb. Does anybody know this record that we can really? We're just here to try to turn people onto it and whether or not it's worthy. So it would be nice to have everybody. If you know this.
Yeah, most people aren't.
Why would that be surprising? I think I outrated Byron on all the Mothers of Invention stuff.
I think we tied on a couple, but yeah, in general, you think you did.
I mean, I rate We're Only in It for the Money a 10, so I'm basing everything off of that. All right, Brian's going to go Grant. I'll give it an 8.5. All right, sweet baby Jesus. Well, Brian may be a Zappa nut. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. I think it's all cool. Gary Joyce doesn't know it, so he's doing a no rating. The beautiful thing about the principal is that he's very honest, and as a principal, he should be. Right?
Yes.
Just say it. Let's see. 0.5. Ken White. He hears everything. He's going to go with an 8. All right. Anybody else? Dr. Smurfo. I love it, Doctor. God, I hope you've subscribed. Man, we're going to go with 8. And then we've got Sydney dragging down Gary's name. Well, choose your high school or schools wisely, Sydney. I'm just saying. All right, so let's tally this up to see what we got, and we'll go on to the next record. We have got, all right, oh my God. I tallied everything up, and this came up with a perfect 8. That's it. No 8.0, no 8.1, no 8.2, a solid 8.
You had 4 votes, I think.
Whatever. We're tallying. Hey, well, I'm thinking if this gets a solid 8, I think we could recommend this record to people, correct?
Yeah, if you can appreciate classical music, yeah, give it a shot.
It's great. It
If you
sounds
appreciate
wonderful.
Zappa and classical music, you might like it.
See, Ken told me. See, I listen. All right, let's go to the next record. Go ahead, Byron. Take.
Because you know what? Logan's been asking for this album for like 2 years.
And it's a posthumous release.
Yeah. So we normally don't
is
do
it?
these.
But Byron, is it? Because it did come out.
Yeah. It's
He
not
had
like,
it done. It came out on a test pressing. And then the whole Warner Brothers thing happened. I don't know. What? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Take it away.
So I'm going to cover a lot of the ground here in case you aren't familiar. But actually, people, if you haven't watched, you should go back and watch Zappa in New York episode, Studio Tan, Sleep Dirt, and I think in this one. That consists of a lot of that stuff. Oh, I'll get to it. All right, I'm getting
100%.
So this was recorded from 72 to 77 and a little bit in 69. Like Grant said,
Of course it was.
it came out though in 1996. It was supposed to come out in 77. Okay,
Right.
but during that time, and we've discussed this in the past, Frank had lawsuits going on with Warner Brothers and Herb Cohen, and he owed Warner Brothers 4 albums. So he delivered those 4 albums, which we've said were Zappa in New York, Studio Tan, Sleep Dirt, Orchestral Favorites. And it was 10 sides of music because Zappa in New York's a double. So he gave that to Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers decided they were going to take their time releasing it. Frank got tired of waiting, and he wanted it released. So he talked with Phonogram, and Phonogram said, yeah, we'll release it because he signed a contract with Phonogram for like Zappa Records. It got pressed by Phonogram. Warner Brothers found out about it, so then they sued Frank to not have it released. So Frank, despite Warner Brothers, he got on the WIOQ radio in Philadelphia, October 22nd, 1977, and played the entire test pressing, the 4-album set on the radio, and people
So
recorded
that
it.
pissed him off even more.
That pissed him off even more. So now you're caught up on what the hell this is all about. So, but notice what I said. He had 10 sides of music, and Lather was only 8 sides. Okay. So there's 2 more sides of music that aren't on Lather, but then there's about a side worth of stuff on Lather, which aren't on any other albums. So I'm going to go through this when we get to the tracks and try and break it all down. So it makes a little
Okay. So real quick, when you look at this, you look at the Ryko reissue. How do you look at the Ryko reissue? I mean, it's mostly there. But you have to consider that this is what Frank wanted out when he was passed away.
It was
who made the decisions on that? Who decided what is what on this?
The family went back to, probably to the masters that they used for the 8-sided album that he wanted Phonogram to release and that he played on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they put on that CD.
Okay.
Plus they threw some bonus tracks on at the end.
But I would say this is the definite release of this record. And you have to applaud them for throwing on bonus tracks too. 100%.
Now, if you got the reissue where it's got the picture of Frank with like the shaving cream on his face, that doesn't have any of the bonus tracks. I wouldn't recommend getting that. But,
if you're going to get anything, ladies and gentlemen, get the original Ryko in the Fat Boy because it's all here and more. Brian Seed loves it. He loves it. Anyway,
so let me talk about this a little bit more. A lot of the songs on Lather have these collages as intros and outros. He did something similar on Shake Your Booty a few times. It's like, guys in the band talking with weird percussion going on in the background or just whatever musical instruments. So you're going to hear a lot of that on Lather, and you only had a little bit of it on Shake Your Booty. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through the CD tracks. We're going to go in the CD order of Grant's CD and talk about it, but we'll probably gloss over some of the tracks, which we've talked about on other albums, and we'll mostly focus on the stuff that's on Lather that you can't get anywhere else. But go ahead.
Ken made a comment. He said, I found the bonus tracks are hit and miss. All right. Well, maybe so, Ken, but would you rather have the bonus tracks than not? So,
yeah, they probably could have squeezed the reissue onto 2 CDs as well, since they didn't have the bonus tracks.
Yeah, well, come on.
Hard to say.
Hard
I'd have
to say.
Calculate it. So let's get into this.
Wait a minute. Pumping Vinyl says it's Mark Lastman. God, is Mark Lastman real? I have no idea. Because if Pumping Vinyl is mentioning you, I don't know if you're real or not. God knows how many computers you have up and how many websites you have going to log into stuff. Look at this. Here we go. Mark says, tell Byron I'm going to give him a call later. Do you know Mark Lastman?
No, I don't know Mark Lastman.
It's Mr. Pumping Vinyl, of course, during the pot.
Anyway.
Byron owes, Logan says Byron owes Mark money. Oh, Lord, ladies and gentlemen. It's never a dull moment in the warehouse. It's never a dull moment. All right, Byron, keep going. I'm sorry.
All right, well, let's get into this. So let's talk about CD1, Egyptian Strut. This is the exact same version of the track that is on the Sleep Dirt vinyl, except that this has a little bit of the collage stuff as an intro. That's all I'm really going to say about it. We've talked about that song on Sleep Dirt.
Yeah, we've already covered it, so keep going.
And we got a lot to get through here. The next track, Naval Aviation and Art. We just talked about that because that was on Orchestral Favorites. It's the same, except once again, this has a little bit of collage at the end of it. So let's get into the next track, A Little Green Rosetta. Okay, that track is on Joe's Garage, I think Act 3, but this is a completely different version. This fat track feels like a demo of Frank singing over some real simple piano, but it then breaks into a guitar solo with some really strange effects. You know what I'm talking about? The effect there? I don't know what he's doing to get that sound.
Is it flanger? Is it?
It sounds like it might be some kind of a wah pedal effect.
Could be a wah. Could be wah.
He does some of that type of effect also in Ship Ahoy, which is on the Shut Up and Play Your Guitar box set. I
mean, Frank likes he does like the wah. I will give you.
So the next track is Duck Duck Goose, which is 3 minutes. Okay. This is not on anything else. So if you got Lather, this is the only place you're going to get it.
On the Ryko CD.
Yeah, it's on a bootleg that I've got.
We don't do bootlegs here, ladies and gentlemen.
Basically, this track, the beginning is a guitar solo over Whole Lot of Love. I don't know if you recognize that. They're doing da 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 da. Then that's changes into some more collage, but during this collage, you get Roy Estrada doing some falsetto vocals that he was wont to do back in the old days. And then that gets into a section which sounds like something from the Run Home Slow soundtrack. Then you get a little bit more collage, but really the song is nothing special. It's okay. Yeah. It's like I said, it's not on anything else though. Next track we're going to actually listen to.
Let's just
Partly
do it.
because it's very short. It was 3 minutes, but it's
Go ahead
also
and intro.
not on
Do an
anything
intro.
else. This is the only place you're going to find this track, so we thought we'd play it. It's called Down and to Do. It's from 1972. It's kind of a cool little instrumental, a little bit upbeat with a pretty good clean guitar solo. So go ahead and play it.
So we're gonna play this. I want everybody to chime in. Do you dig it? Do you not dig it? We'll just do it. We're keeping it loose in the warehouse like we always.
So I wasn't really sure
Is it well, Jim Gordon? If it's
Who was
72,
on
that would make sense.
because that was probably when Zappa was laid up with his broken leg period. So I wasn't sure who the drummer was on that.
I do want to mention something about the way this track sounds because we're dealing with the Ryko CD. It when you're listening to it on headphones, it's very crisp sounding. The guitars really pop. It really sounds quite good. The production on here, and you're talking 1972 though. But man, it just sounds. I don't know. Do you know if any of this stuff was like remixed for this or was it just what they had? Do you have any idea, Byron?
I don't know if I put anything in my notes about this.
Oh, damn it to hell. Let's delete
Yeah,
you out of this out of this.
Usually
show.
I write all that down if I think this is basically whatever he was originally going to release. I don't think there was
Okay.
remix.
Logan, you got to watch out if you're going off of Wikipedia because someone might get pissed off and make negative comments about you because you're relying on Wikipedia. Logan said Jim went a little nuts. I thought his performance on here, if that is Jim, freaking top notch.
Is he talking about how Jim killed his mom, right?
Yeah, we know Jim killed his mom. And
Yeah.
Jim Gordon, rest in peace, he's dead. Well, I don't care. I can't. Well, he had voices, Byron.
Yeah.
He had voices talking to him. He can't help himself.
All right. Well, let's get back into this.
Exactly. I'm glad. You know what, Logan? I'm glad I've handed those reins over to you.
Yep.
Congratulations. Anyway, keep going.
All right. So we're still on CD1. The next track is Trying to Grow a Chin, which we know that track from Chic Your Booty. But this was recorded in February 77. This is not the same as the Chic Your Booty track. It's a different track. This has got less overdubs. It's not quite as heavy, I think, as the Chic Your Booty version. It starts and ends with some collages, but it's pretty good. Next track is Broken Hearts of Our Assholes. Once again, that was on Chic Your Booty, but this is a different version again. This sounds like it was recorded before that. It's a little raw. It's not quite as developed. There's that whole back and forth thing in the middle of Broken Hearts of Our Assholes. I don't think it's quite as developed on here, so it's not quite as funny, but it's still pretty good. So the next track is going to be The Legend of the Illinois Enema Bandit, which I know that's one of Logan's favorites. This is the exact same version as on Zappa in New York. So if you want to find out more about that, maybe go back and watch that episode. It does feature Don Pardo, though, with the introduction. Next track is going to be Let Me Take You to the Beach, which Grant and I both like that track.
We love that track.
It's the same version as on Studio 10. It's kind of this 70s synthesized version of a 60s beach type song. It's really good. The next track is going to be Revised Music for Guitar and Low Budget Orchestra. It's the exact same version that was on Studio 10, and that's followed by Redunzel, which also is the same as on Studio 10. Now, the times might be a little different on these songs. They may be a little longer or shorter, but they're the same take, same mix, just maybe it fades out sooner or whatever. Go ahead.
You know what, Byron? I want to mention something real quick that because we were kind of wondering where this was remixed? Was this the version that Zappa produced? I just did a little bit of research real quick, and what I find is that this is how he wanted it. And you get a lot of these tracks, the way he set it up. He wanted these tracks to kind of like segue into each other. That he had it all thought out that these tracks would work in this certain way. So not what we're listening to, but I mean, if you get this, if we were listening to this whole thing as a piece or a work, this is what Zappa wanted, other than those bonus tracks. You might, if you dig, you may want to go down that road and get the original Ryko CD. You know what I don't like? Can I go on a tangent real quick? You know what I don't like? The beautiful thing about CDs and stuff, because a lot of these bands and artists, you get multiple versions. Now, you get the original version that was done years ago, and it's not brick-walled. You've got dynamic range. You get a lot of these later CDs, they're all brick-walled. The problem is when people stream stuff, is that you only get one version of something. You are getting spoon-fed that one version that is either brick-walled or it's an old version. These companies, Spotify could give a rat's ass the sound quality or what version you're going to get.
What pressing are you getting?
What are you talking about?
Because you're all about which pressing of the CD.
But what I'm trying to say, okay, we go to Spotify. What version do we get on Spotify? Is it on Spotify?
Probably.
All I'm trying to say is this sounds really good, and the other version I can't speak from. But I get pissed off because this is the problem. We've got multiple versions of something, and we all know that there's one version that sounds really good, but we're only spoon-fed that one fucking thing that just could be brick-walled or shitty sounding. the beautiful thing about physical media is that we have a choice on what version we listen to and what version we like. I don't want to be spoon-fed something from the man, so to speak. I want choice. I do want to say that this Ryko CD, based on I think it sounds great. I think you would be very happy with this. And also the 2012 CDs all sound great because Bernie Grunman did a lot of the mastering on these. Those sound great too, but I can't speak for anything else. Oh, look at it. Annie T's here. Grant flipping his hands. You know, if I'm flipping my hands, what that means. Get all worked up. Anyway, I don't know where I was going on that tirade, but you know, it's one of those nights.
Well, the last track on the first CD was already.
Look, Byron just goes right back into it.
I'm like Cretan.
You're like Cretan.
Well, we got a lot to go through yet.
All right, real quick. Shut up. Calm down. It's my show. Everybody, if you ever notice Cretan on this channel, Cretan's one of those guys where, you know, I like to have a show where we can talk back and forth, keep it loose, talk about music. You get freaking Cretan on here. He is like a goddamn robot where if you interrupt him, you can't
Improvise.
I wanted to say freebase. That's John Belushi. He can't just
improvise.
I want this show to improvise where we can talk music. I want people sitting around talking music like we're in a record store. Cretan, well, I don't have a problem with Cretan. I'm just you can't just shoot the shit with Cretan. Cretan's he's just like he's dialed in like a robot, you know? Kind of like being Boldt, kind of the same.
Kind of like an idiot savant, maybe. He's.
I didn't say that. You said that. I did not.
It's very structured with him, and he's.
I'm lathered up, Ken.
All these details, yes.
I don't necessarily know what sounds good, but I've studied a lot from the Steve Hoffman site, and I have a good idea which pressings are good and what's bad, and I do know that. So anyway. Finely tuned ears on. No, but all right, let me just say that. Wouldn't you rather have the best possible version of something as far as mastering and sound quality? I must say, this whole Zappa catalog, when it came out in 2012, top notch. Don't even worry about it. Just run to those CDs and get them. They just sound absolutely stunning. You know? And I'm going to give props to this Ryko one. I think this sounds great too. Well, that's what we've been playing. You can judge for yourself. I mean, I'm throwing out uncompressed files other than what YouTube's doing. So I'm on a tangent tonight, but it's all right. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Byron. You can have the stage now.
All right. So we finished up CD1 when we discussed Redunzel, which I love. That's one of my favorite tracks on Studio Tan. So let's get into side 2. Starts out with Honey, Don't You Want a Man Like Me? I love that song. This is from Zappa in New York, but allegedly This has been remixed. Now, my ears don't notice it, but a lot of people say there's a lot of different remixing going on in this track.
If we only had Ferraro on here to go give his opinion, but Anthony Ferraro, ladies and gentlemen, if you're familiar with his work, he's very select on what shows he comes on. He can only talk about maybe 1 or 2 Zappa albums, and then he can't make an appearance on any other Zappa shows. Just want to throw that out.
It's got to have Eddie Jobson on it, and he is on this though. So the next track is going to be The Black Page, which is supposedly the same as the version on Zappa in New York.
100%.
Big Leg Emma comes up next. That's a bonus track from Zappa in New York, the double CD. Wasn't ever on the vinyl. Punky's Whips is next. This is the same as the uncut Zappa in New York version. I can't remember if I think they did censor it just a tiny bit on the censored version of Zappa in New York. This one also has a little bit of that collage at the beginning of it. Next track will be Flambe. This is a lot shorter than the version that's on the Sleep Dirt CD and vinyl. It's instrumental and it's got some collage at the end. So if you got the CD or the vinyl of Sleep Dirt, that track is longer on those. Purple Lagoon comes next. That's 16 and a half minutes. This is, once again, basically the same as what's on Zappa in New York. Next is Pedro's Dowry. This is the same as what was just talked about earlier on the Orchestral Favorites album. Next track is called Lather. Okay. This is actually on Zappa in New York, but it's called I Promise Not to Come in Your Mouth on that.
Oh, DC, we haven't even had dinner yet. Why would you go there so soon? Lather, wait a minute. Rick Barnes says Lather was too long. I enjoy Live in New York, but Lather for me was too long.
Yeah, you gotta break it up, I think. It's gonna be a long episode if we
I know. We'll keep going because we're already at
where was
minutes.
I? Yes, I was talking about the track Lather, which is 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Like I said, this is technically on Zappa in New York, but it's called I Promise Not to Come in Your Mouth.
Will you stop it? We haven't went on a date yet.
This also has one of those little collages at the end of it. Next track, Spider of Destiny. This is definitely shorter than the Sleep Dirt vinyl. This is an instrumental, though. On one version of Sleep Dirt, it has vocals. The other version, it doesn't. But this is definitely shorter than the vinyl version. It has a collage at the end as well. And then the last track on CD2, Duke of Orchestral Prunes, which is the track that we played earlier on the Orchestral Favorites part of the show. That's the end of disc 2. I need a break for a second.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We gotta talk to Mark real quick. This is why we do these live shows. It's loose. We're here talking music. So Mark, I thought Mark possibly was, well, Mark, I appreciate you here. If you're a real person, thanks for coming. Please please subscribe because the Warehaus is a very busy place. Mark says, I'm a real person. Type Sam the Record Man incident into your search bar. That's my life shining accomplishment. All right.
This may not even be Mark, though. This could be somebody saying he is Mark.
Well, I'd like to, I don't know. Well, we can look at it.
Create an account that says I'm Grant Arthur.
Don't give Pumping Vinyl any ideas. He's already going around like Pete Pardo already, and dead people. So
I'm talking about him too much.
I'm not. I'm assuming that Mark is a real person.
We got a show here, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen, I should say.
Pumping Vinyl can vouch for Mark.
Well, then that should be a red flag right there.
That's a red flag. And then Logan is Pete Pardo. Oh boy! All right, let's keep going.
Maybe we can get on to CD3 here.
Go ahead.
Okay, CD3 starts out with Filthy Habits. This is on the Sleep Dirt album. This is shorter than the original vinyl version, though, and it's got about a minute of collage at the end of it. Next up, Titties and Beer.
Oh, damn it.
This is, everybody knows that one from Zappa in New York. This is the uncensored version. The Ultimate is the Ultimate Solution. I think Grant really liked that one when we discussed the Sleep Dirt album. This is shorter than that, though, by about 3 or 4 minutes. I think the solos were edited down a little bit on this version. And then the last track that was actually on Sleep Dirt is The Adventures of Gregory Peccary, which this is basically the same as the Studio Tan vinyl version. Okay, now we get into the bonus tracks, which are only on Grant's version of the CD. And so the next track, the first bonus track is Egyptian Strut 1993. We had a whole long discussion about this when we talked about Sleep Dirt because depending on which version of the CD you had the remix or you didn't have the remix. So anyway, this is the remix from 1993. But also, at the beginning of it, it has the radio intro that Frank did when he played this album on that
On
radio,
the air.
on the air. They took his intro and added it onto this track to kind of let you relive the moment. So the next track next bonus track is called Leather Goods. This is like, it starts out with one of these collages, but then it turns into a live guitar solo with a real heavy echo without the band at all at that point. And then the band joins in after a few minutes, and then it feels like a faster version of Dazed and Confused for 30 seconds or so. He seems to be tapping the Zeppelin here on this. Then there's some more guitar solo for a minute, and then finally the band joins in again for the last minute of A Whole Lot of Love, which he had done A Whole Lot of Love, I think on disc 1. I think it was in Duck Duck Goose. I can't remember which track it was. So next track is Revenge of the Knick-Knack People. It's basically 2.5 minutes. It's just a bunch of this collage stuff, which we've kind of been discussing. It's okay. And then the last track is Time is Money, which is on the Sleep Dirt vinyl. So if you have Sleep Dirt, you've got this track. So it's not really that big of a deal having it as a bonus track. You already had Sleep Dirt. So that's everything.
All right, cool. What would you rate this out of 10? What's your thoughts out of 10? Come on, don't huff and puff.
I feel like the fact that I've got so much of it on all these other albums kind of detracts.
But does it make a difference, Byron, that you have it as a conceptual work from Zappa as opposed to being all piecemealed out?
Yeah, it's kind of like giving after the fact, this is like ranking a compilation or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be generous tonight. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
I'm going to give it higher than that.
Wow.
I'm going to give it a 9.0. The fact that I think that it is if this could have come out the way it was, I think this work could have been up there with Uncle Meat. I think this album could have been up there with We're Only In It For The Money. We're Only In The Money and Absolutely Free. That whole Mother stuff is perfect. This is close. I think when you hear it as a conceptual, artistic presentation, I think it's some of his best stuff in the 70s, to be quite honest. I will go out on a ledge and say that I would give it a 9. I would be very happy with a 9. Okay. Well, let's
there's a few things on here I could live without, though. That's why I'm giving it an 8.5, I suppose.
Yeah, but you've already been tarnished. See, I'm trying to come in here fresh.
Yeah.
This, I totally think works. I'm sorry. I think this totally works. We all hear it differently. Let's go out to everybody. So the previous record we just did, Orchestral Favorites, got an 8. Now we got an 8. I'm going to give this a 9. Byron, what'd you give this again? Sorry. 8.8.
8.5.
Oh,
Rick Barnes agrees it's a compilation.
Well, all the stuff's a compilation.
It is.
Okay. All right. Wait a minute. Yeah, but this is what he compiled originally in 1977. All the shit that he's been doing ever since the Mothers is a compilation. It's always piecemealed together. This is my only bitch that I have about the catalog. And this is why I think it makes the Mothers of Invention catalog so much better. But whatever. But this, I seem to think, works really well. I'm going to give you that. All right, so Logan, you going with a 9? If you know this album, please give me your rating so we can compile it. Even though it is a compilation according to Rick. But all the Zappa stuff's just a big comp. Come on. Ken White, 8.5. There's a lot of music. Right. A lot of music on the White album, too. It's all just one big album. Webb is going with an 8.25. What is that?
125.
Wait a minute, Webb. Can you hone that in a bit?
8.0625.
What have you not had dinner tonight yet? What's wrong? I'm going to go with an 8.2. I'll go with 8.2. How's that? I don't know how these people can come up with stuff like 8.125. All right, Brian C's going with a 9. See, great minds think alike, Brian. Just being silly. Okay, well, we're used to having Sydney be silly, not you, Webb. It's throwing me off. Likes decimals. Yeah, BM Boldt, 7.06255. Dr. Smurfo's going with a... See? You're grading this way too low, Byron. People know what I'm talking about.
I'm more into the individual albums than the compilation.
But this isn't really a No!
Rick Barnes says it's a compilation. I agree with him.
No, this was before any of those records. This was the actual work that Zappa wanted. This is not it is a compilation, but the other records were all torn apart by Frank to fucking go after Warner Brothers. This is the conceptual work in my mind.
What I don't understand is he released 8 sides.
Oh, look, Billy Mays is here as well. Of course he is. Can Pete Pardo come and give a rating too?
See, I don't understand. He wanted this to be 8 sides, but he gave Warner Brothers 10 sides of music. And it was like, I don't know what the thought process there was, how he took those 10 sides and figured out he wanted 8 sides, but then one of the sides really is new stuff. So he only used 7 sides of those 10. I'm confusing everybody probably by saying this.
You know what? I almost think of Zappa kind of like Neil Young. You know, Neil would put out an album. It would get rejected by Reprise. He would go back and redo it. How many albums did Neil Young put out that were never released that we're now seeing released?
Yeah, I gave up on him too about 10 years ago, just like Zappa. I just couldn't keep up.
After Joe's will be very interesting to watch with these guys. Maybe, we'll see. Pumping Vinyl, yeah, 100%, but I think there are parallels between Zappa and Neil Young. The fact that they've had records.
Catalog-wise, yeah.
Catalog-wise. Yeah. Come on, listen to me, Pumping Vinyl. Come on.
Yeah, because Frank had a lot of albums, too, that he wanted to release, and he just never did. You know,
right, 100%.
And then he'd release them as something else later. And
it's like Prince, the Crystal Ball album, which was the album prior to Sign of Times. But he kept going back and redoing things. If you look at the whole Prince catalog, the guy was just, well, he was brilliant, but there are so many albums that he put together, then he would pull out. Look at the Black Album. He put the Black Album out and thought it was too negative, so he pulled it out. Even though there's some copies that, oh, God. Right, Logan, 100%. But you see what I'm saying? All these artists like this, they put something out, pull it out, redo it. So, but all I'm saying is this is probably the definite version of before he tore it apart. I mean, if we're going to listen to it, wouldn't you rather I'm going to throw this out to the panel. Let's say the original Crystal Ball, which there are bootlegs out there on the internet before Sign of Times, not the Crystal Ball album that came out later, which has nothing to do with the original album. The original Crystal Ball album was great. It was every bit as good as Sign of Times. It's just a little bit different. But all I'm saying is that Zappa's one of those people, you know. And I don't think he really cared. Because look at Neil Young. A lot of this stuff is old tracks as well. You know what I mean. I'm making your chain. I know what you mean. Okay. What?
Did you calculate the final score on this yet?
No, I haven't even given. I will right now. Has everybody got their score in? Because Byron's got Mama's probably's got a pie in the oven, and he's got to go have some pie.
Some dessert.
All right. Well, I got everybody's. Oh shit.
So go ahead. But Webb's asking, we're going to do Joe's Garage Acts 1, 2, and 3 next time.
Right.
We'll knock the whole thing out in one shot.
All right. I got everybody's score. I've got a 7.5.
Wow.
I'm
Lower
surprised
than
at that.
that's really
We had
lower
an
than
8
Orchestral
before. We
Favorites?
had an 8 before. This got a 7.5.
Who knocked it down? Because I didn't.
We might
see
not have. We had a 5.
Oh, I didn't see that 5 come in.
Yeah, we had a 5.
Okay.
Prediction. Webb said he was predicting a 7.9. Well, we ended up at a 7.5. So the winner tonight is Orchestral Favorites.
Who would have known that?
Who would have ever known that? But I don't think a lot of people have heard Lather as the whole conceptual work. You know? Whatever, it's all good. We're just here, really. Clayton, we're talking. What are you, a member of Devo? Jesus, look at that. I love that. We're talking Frank Zappa. Come on, man. And I don't even know if Clayton's real. It's not rigged, Logan. You're rigged. You and Sydney holding hands on the beach. You're both rigged. All right. Byron, anything?
I'm glad to have covered Lather. We kind of skipped over a lot, but I wanted to kind of get it out of the way as well and discuss it because we've been talking about it a lot lately.
I've got a dome already,
but
I got a blue one. Go ahead.
Glad that's over with. We can move on now to Joe's Garage.
So next month we'll be looking at Joe's Garage. Please tune in for that. I hope it was fun. Great show, true professionals. Yeah, well, I went on a tangent tonight, but that's all right. No one got hurt, and I didn't get hurt. And Byron, did you get hurt?
No,
we're all good. It's just about talking music. So I do want to promote this again Saturday, 10 a.m. Brendan Snyder, Pete Pardo will be in the Warehouse. We will be going live talking about rock candy releases. So I haven't really honed it down yet if we're doing like a top 5 or top 10. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to do it. We might just have a general discussion. So tune in on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Concert bully, stop bullying me. 100%. Wait a minute. David said Frank gave Warner's 4 albums in New York: Orchestral, Sleep Dirt, and Studio Tan. Then Warner's Boldt. Frank resequenced into Lather.
right. But that was 10 sides of music too, and he didn't. Some stuff on Zappa in New York is not on Lather. Some stuff in Orchestral Favorites is not on Lather, and then there's some stuff on Lather that's not on those 4 albums. So it is kind of messy,
Well, Clayton, it was pretty easy to get him to agree. It's pumping vinyl, isn't it? Oh God, I swear to God. All right, everybody, we're gonna wrap this dog up. I do appreciate everybody coming on. So tune in on Saturday. What is tomorrow? Something going on tomorrow? I don't have my book here, but something may be happening here tomorrow. There might be a contrarian show. Not sure. Anyway, I do appreciate everybody coming in. It was pretty loose. It's just about talking music and giving Byron shit. It's really all it's about. But we will be back next month. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. Please leave a comment. And we will see you on the next one. All right. See you, everybody.